Hello, this is Jean Marie Ward for Buzzy Magazine. With me today is L. Zsaji Lamplighter, author of the Prospero's Daughter series featuring Miranda, Prospero, and nearly every character you ever loved in Shakespeare. Welcome, Zsaji. Your writing career is a testimonial to patience. How many years transpired between the time you began Prospero's Daughter and its publication?
17 years. 19 years till the whole series came out. And it was about 10 years, I think, till I finished it. I'd put it aside a little bit, went back to it. And then the remaining time was spent waiting for my editor to decide if he wanted to buy it, and then once he bought it, to publish it. But during that period, I rewrote it over and over again, and it went from being one book to three, and it went from being rather silly to quite intricate and elegantly put together. I'm not going to say as elegantly readers say if it's elegantly to read, but as far as being able to put it together and have it work together, I really appreciated having that time. And sometimes I think nothing else I do will ever be quite as intricate because I won't have that time to weave it all together that I had writing it over and over and over again.
Did the story evolve during that time, or was it a question of perfecting the prose?
The story evolved dramatically. The prose also got a lot better as I went along, but the story, the beginning is almost the same as the original beginning, the first part of the story. But where it went, and in particular what hell was like, changed. In my early versions, I had kind of a silly kind of an idea for hell. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. And as I was rewriting it, I came upon a book called Wander in the Spirit Land, which was supposed to be a channeled book. It was written in 1896. And the idea of hell in there was so intriguing to me, and it matched things I'd read in near-death experiences of people who thought they'd actually seen places that they felt were like hell. And there was kind of a poetic quality to it, where people who were filled with wrath would continue to fight each other, but they couldn't actually hurt each other, and they never noticed, and other things that I just found so interesting that I redid the whole thing to give it that kind of eerie, poetic sense of what it would be like if you were kind of getting what you asked for without any of the good parts. You thought, you're getting to fight, but you're not getting any victory, and things like that. So I think it came out a much better book because of that.
How does that work?
Does being married to a speculative fiction writer make delays like this or the writing process harder or easier?
It's much easier. John and I bounce ideas off each other all the time. The Prospero family, not Miranda and her father, everybody else, I just stole outright for him. He made them up for a role-playing game. And when I sat down to work on the book, I thought I need some brothers and sisters because it's been 500 years, he would have had more kids. And I went, hey, John has this group of people called the Prosperos, and they're just delightful. Can I borrow them? And he said yes. So that's just one example of many, many times that he and I run ideas by each other. We point out, oh, this isn't quite working, or we sit there and help each other. We often, on trips to conventions, we'll sit there in the car for a 4-hour drive or whatever it is and just work on one of our books. And whoever's not driving will take notes, and we'll just sit and talk about, well, what if this happens, or what if the villain tries that? And sometimes this stuff makes it into the final version, sometimes it doesn't, but it's very helpful.
I understand you're both gamers, and that too has played a role in your fiction. How did your gaming influence Prospero's Daughter?
First, I should say that when we role play, it's much more like getting to play a part in your favorite novel, and much less like rolling dice and having rules. So it's not quite what everybody else thinks of when they say gaming. But Prospero's Daughter started as a 40-page short story I wrote for a diceless amber game. I wanted to play Miranda, the daughter of Blaze, and the game kind of fell apart, and I looked back at what I'd written. It was Miranda and Mav solving a mystery involving vampires and Pepsi-Cola. I still have the short story somewhere. Someday I'll sell it. I think I changed the name to Pixie-Cola later. And I thought, this is really fun. I want to write a book based on this character. So I, decided, well, instead of Amber, why don't I go back to Shakespeare, which is where I got it from. And then I started looking at changing it to fit in this world. In my early versions, she was a lot more like a Princess of Amber. And as I went along, I kind of changed that and made her fit into the background more organically.
Yeah, this seems to be an incredible evolution of the story. Would you consider yourself a plotter or a pantser when it comes to writing?
I don't like the word pantser, which I know was invented by a plotter, because it implies that people who are not outlining are writing by the seat of their pants, and I've seen people write by the seat of their pants, and that's not what I do. I think there are three types of writing. One type of writing is random. The person just kind of goes and they don't know where they're going, and they often get into trouble. One type is outline, where they think it out ahead of time. And the third type is what type I call either organic or relying on the muse. You plan what you can, but you leave it open for it to organically come together as it goes along. And my personal experience is if I outline the book before I'm halfway through, I can't write. I have to throw the outline out and start over, because the process of writing is also the process of rethinking out what's going on to get creative ideas. And I've seen a number of friends come up with great ideas and read a bunch of writing books and come up with a lovely beginning, and then they outline and they can't write. They just stop. Sometimes 7 years goes by and another friend finally picked it up and realized he had to do something new and dropped his outline and started writing. Other friends have just put it aside, and then those books never got written. And it's because they thought they had to outline, and they weren't going to ever write by the seat of their pants, but they needed to have that openness, that creativity, to let the story come together organically.
Speaking of creativity, I understand your next project will be a young adult novel called The Unexpected Enlightenment of Rachel Griffin. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
My next project is actually a different one. That's the one that is actually on the editor's desk, which I'll talk about after this. But Unexpected Enlightenment of Rachel Griffin is based on a role-playing game. And it is a story of a young girl. It's kind of a Harry Potter-esque story for young girls. It's a story of a girl who already lives in the magical world. She's not like a modern person who discovers it. But when she gets to the Roanoke Academy of Sorcerer's Art, she discovers that there's another world that's more hidden, that's influencing her world the way her world hides things from normal people. And she begins to discover that this world is out there, that it's dangerous, that it involves a fight between heaven and hell, that there used to be thousands of worlds and now there's about 50. And the other worlds have been damaged, and the guardian of the earth has gathered refugees and brought them to Earth and changed their memory and turned them into children and put them into school. So the school is peopled with all these people who used to be captains of starships, or they used to be supervillains in the 13th century fighting Orlando, or all sorts of strange things. One's with Valkyrie. And they're all living here, and they don't know this is the case. And as she begins to look into it, she begins to find out that there's this huge conspiracy. But it's also fun. It's also just a romance about a girl who falls in love with two junior supervillains and has to choose between them.
Oh, my.
And they're best friends. You would think I made this up for a story, but it came from the game. They're best friends. One of them wants to marry her sister. I mean, you couldn't make up a better love triangle. But it's delightful, you know, and it's angsty, and it's filled with you know, romance. And she has friends, and the friends have problems. But it's not like Harry Potter in that it's not episodic. If Harry Potter was Star Trek, this would be Babylon 5. It's an ongoing story that grows and gets bigger as it goes along.
And you mentioned that you're actually working on something before this?
Yes, I have a series called The Visions of Arhylon, which is based on a role-playing game that's been running about 25 years, that John ran. And it is about a young woman who begins to discover that the books her friends wrote are coming true. And her friends are missing. The Earth is being attacked by dragons and magicians, and she figures out that a character she and her friend made up when they were kids exists. And she goes off to try to get him to come help, but he's not a nice guy. And it doesn't work out quite the way she hopes. But the whole story is a story of wonder and magic and faith and multiverses and unicorns and a war between law and chaos. And the main thrust of the story is that this one character wants to do the right thing and save the world, and she just won't give up, even though everyone tells her, you can't save your world, you can't save the general world, you can't stop Ragnarok. Basically, it's about not giving in to Ragnarok and overcoming and...
Cool. Optimistic message. Yep, that's always useful.
And getting up again and again after you get knocked down again and again, you know, just not letting yourself fail.
That's one definition of heroism, getting up again after you're knocked down. You know, with all of these books on the horizon, you know, all this writing going on, when do you, I understand you edit, when do you find the time?
If you mean something like the Badass Fairy Tale series, we just kind of fit it in. It's fun. I kind of take a break now and then and read a story. We haven't been doing quite as well in the last year or so because we all have been pretty busy.
Okay.
But it is kind of just you know, a joyful thing to have this other branch of things going on, and sometimes it's nice to take a break.
Yeah, so no new editorial projects on the horizon.
There is one we're working on, but we've been working on it very slowly. It would be the next book in the VA Fairy Tale series, and I'm supposed to write a prosperous short story for it that I promised, but haven't actually pulled together, involving Mephisto, Erasmus, and Mab going on a road trip.
That'll be fun when you get to it. Anything you'd like to add?
No, I think that's about it. I mean, it's the best life. It's the best job. I mean, I get up in the morning and I'm a mom and a writer, and I don't have to do things that I don't want to do. It's all the stuff I wanted to do when I was a kid, and it's filled with joy, and hopefully someday someone else will read it and they'll be filled with joy too for a few minutes that the book takes.
I can't think of a better closer than that. Thank you. And thank you for Buzzy Magazine.